All right, everybody. Now we're back from spring break. I hope you had a good one. If it wasn't restful like mine was, hopefully it was fun. Okay, so we've got a new project that we're going to be starting, and this is a bar and grill menu. Okay. Now you can see I have the spec sheet, as that's what we call them in advertising, the spec sheet open in Moodle with you can see the size of the page and all that, and you'll notice that it's a 11 by 14, which is a bigger size than usual, and you got margins and all that kind of stuff. And we'll get into that on another video. Okay, this first one though. This first video, I want to talk to you guys about creating a logo, because you can see at the top it says bar and grill menu design, and then it says you will create a logo and design a menu for a Detroit area bar and grill. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is create a logo. Okay, now logo, when I say logo, that's actually more of a blanket term that we use nowadays for a number of kinds of identifying marks used in business. Okay, so when I say logo, it's actually a logo. If you want the actual definition, a logo is a pronounceable word. Okay, so when people say logos, a lot of times what they're talking about are marks, word marks, combination marks. There's a whole slew of them. And if you've already taken Art 135, Graphic Design 1, you probably remember that. If you're taking it concurrently, we haven't gotten into that just yet, but will be soon. Okay, so basically what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a combination mark. Okay, a combination mark has a symbol or a little pictogram, and then the name of the business or the name of the company or what have you. Now I'm going to be using Illustrator for this. Okay, in this class we're primarily using InDesign for laying things out, but Illustrator is what you use. That's the go-to program when you want to create a logo. I used to work in a sign shop, and we used to have to make logos small enough to put on a business card, but big enough to go on a billboard. And Adobe Illustrator does that. Okay, it's a vector-based program, meaning that it is plot points and fills. There are no pixels, so there's going to be no pixelization. There's going to be nothing fuzzy when you enlarge something. Okay, so that's why you want to use Adobe Illustrator when you create a logo or a word mark or anything like that you're going to be reproducing in different sizes. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll minimize this here. We just want to make sure we know the name of the place. It's the Ham-Fisted Bar and Grill, American Food and Spirits. We'll minimize this and keep it handy. Okay, now Illustrator. If you haven't used it before or not familiar with it, it's pretty simple to use. It's pretty cool. I like using it quite a bit. I use it all the time. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Create New. These are all old files right here. Create New. Come on, there we go. And it's going to come up with a dialog box. Now the size of the canvas that we're going to use here doesn't really matter all that much. Basically, what we're going to be doing is creating artwork on this thing and then just exporting the artwork without the canvas. We just need something to kind of build it on. All right. So what I usually do when I'm creating a logo is I'll just go with your basic. I click on Print because then I know my size is going to be comfortable when I export it. And then I usually just go with letter. Okay, that's the default. But what I do though, and this is up to you, I like to have inches showing rather than points or picas or anything like that. And for this, I think I'm going to change my orientation here. The default is portrait, which 8.5 by 11, but I'm going to go with 11 by 8.5, which is landscape. Okay, and then I'm just going to click on create. I don't have to worry about any of this stuff through here. It's not important. Okay. All right, this is Adobe Illustrator. I have it set on typography because that's what I prefer my workspace to be when I'm creating logos. If you're just opening Illustrator for the first time, it's probably on Essentials, which looks like this. So you've got properties over here, you've got layers, you got libraries. I've got mine set on typography, so I've got a bunch of different things handy here that I can access when I need to. Okay, so like this is all the stuff for lettering. Okay, this is all the stuff for like the strokes. There's my color. You know, there's my swatches. It's easier. It's easier for me if I have these things customized a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and collapse that and leave this one open. Okay, now I'm going to go with a basic black and white logo to begin with. The general rule when you are creating a logo is to create it in black and white first and then add color later. Okay, because it's really hard to take something that's color and then make it black and white. You can't just say, okay, we'll make it grayscale, and then suddenly get all these washed out gray colors and stuff. That does not work at all. Not for logos. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to first off, I'm going to turn on my rulers because I like to be able to see where things are. Okay, and then I'm going to start creating a mark. Okay, when I say a mark, that's going to be the picture part of my logo. Now, ham-fisted. Okay, that word conjures up a lot of things. What it actually means is sort of heavy-handed. I think that when I think of the term ham-fisted, I tend to think of Captain Kirk from the classic Star Trek. Shatner's acting could be a little ham-fisted sometimes. That's what that term means. But for this, you know, I'm thinking, it makes me think of, you know, ham-fisted, I think of like a fistful of sandwich or something like that. So I'm going to try and combine those things. What you want to do, though, for your mark or your logo, however you want to do it, just play with the word in your mind and see what it conjures up. Okay? I'm not trying to influence you with what I create here. Okay, so let's start off with, let's create a shape. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my rectangle tool from my toolbox over here. And I'm also, before I start anything else, I'm going to switch my colors around. This is my fill, and this is my stroke. I am going to switch those so I have a black fill, and I don't think I want a stroke right now, so I'm going to hit the no sign for that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just hold down my shift key while I make a square. There, perfectly square. Then I'm also going to hold down my shift key while I rotate so it's perfectly diamond shaped. Okay, if you don't hold down your shift key, you might rotate it somewhere, you know, and it might not be perfectly aligned. Okay, so that's my first shape right there. Okay, I'll set that over here. Now I'm going to start creating another shape to go on top of it. Now this time I'm going to use my rounded rectangle tool. And something like this. Okay, that's fairly square. The rounded rectangle tool is pretty cool. You can adjust the roundness of the rectangle by playing with that. That looks pretty good right about there. And then next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to this tool here. Much like all the other programs in the Adobe Creative Cloud, tools are nested under other tools. So I'm going to grab my ellipse tool, and then go ahead and, actually I was holding on my shift key, I don't want to do that. Put something right about there. Okay, and then, let's see. Then I'm going to, hang on just a second. Just trying to get a hold of that. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to paste it. Just duplicated it. And let's see, let's go ahead and align these guys. Just select a couple of things, and you can align them something like that. I'm going to make these a little bit bigger, though. Something like that. Okay, as you can tell, what I'm creating here is basically a slice of bread. Okay, so we got the split top here. I'm going to move these guys just a touch closer so there isn't that little bit of white showing. Okay, that'll work right there. Like that shape, it's working pretty well. I'm going to grab these guys, and I am going to use my shape builder tool right over here to combine those. So now I've got this shape and I've got this shape. They're separate. And then I'm going to grab this, and then I'm going to make sure they're aligned that way. Okay, that works. Now I'm going to grab them all and use my shape builder tool again and make this into one object. Okay, that works. Now I'm going to add a white stroke to this. Okay, so I brought the stroke symbol to the front. That means that's what I'm going to be playing with. And now these Adobe programs are incredibly redundant. I can add my the color of the stroke over here, or I can do it up here, you know, whatever. I'll go ahead and click on white. That automatically goes to a 1-point stroke. I'm going to go a little bit thicker than that. Let's try it 3. And let's see how it looks over top of this. Oh, hang on a second. It looks like I didn't have it selected. So let's, again, let's make that white. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I think that works pretty well. Let's see, maybe a little bit bigger. Okay, now let's go ahead and grab both these guys and let's make sure they're centered, both horizontally and vertically. Okay, so that'll be the basic shape of my sandwich with, like, you know, a little slice of cheese or something sticking out from under it. It's not so much this has to be literally a slice of cheese as it is just kind of an interesting shape. Okay. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I want to create basically a fist shape. I think I'll put a fist shape inside of this, you know, and see what that looks like. I don't know if it's going to work. You know, maybe, maybe not. But you know, that's how you try. That's how you figure things out, just by, you know, just seeing what works and what doesn't. So let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and take my rectangle tool and create a shape something like that. Right now it's got a white stroke. I don't really need that, so I'll take that off. I'm going to zoom in a little closer here so I see what I'm doing just a little bit better. And then, well, let's see. I need to make the shape of a fist. I think the easiest way to do that would be probably to... Alright, sorry about that. I had to pause for a second. I had something that came up. Okay, so where I left off with this was I had this little shape here, which is going to be basically a part of a forearm, and I need to make a fist. Now, probably the simplest way to create an oddball shape like that would be to well, to probably just use my paintbrush tool and just draw it freehand. You could use the shape builder tool to make a series of you know, ellipses and stuff like that. But I think it'd be more work to tweak it than to just draw it. So I'm going to take my paintbrush tool here, and I'm just going to make the shape of a fist, roughly. It looks a little bit rough right now, but the great thing about Illustrator is it'll kind of smooth things out once things are kind of created. So there's my basic shape right there. Okay. Now, as you can see, it's let's see. Let's make sure these things are closed up. All right. Let's see if it'll let me. There we go. All right. So what I have here is basically the shape of a fist that I drew freehand, and then I switched around the stroke. So I need to set this here and see if that looks about right. That's not too bad. You'll notice too that after I drew the thing, it smoothed the edges out. Okay, so that's working pretty good. I think I might take this here. I'm going to move. I'm going to move the wrist in just a little bit. Move this out a little bit. Oops, doing the whole thing here. There's my anchor. Something like that. And do the same thing with this one over here. Okay. So, all right, so we got this symbol of a fist. Kind of reminds me of, you know, the old, you know, power fist kind of thing or something like that. Let's see. I'm going to have to adjust the size a little bit, but I'm going to do that after I set it inside of the sandwich. So before I do that, let's go ahead and combine these. I'm going to grab my regular selection tool here, click on both parts, and use my shape builder tool and do that. Now it is one shape. Okay, and let's zoom back out here. And now let's go ahead and move this guy inside here and see where we're at. Okay, that's not too bad. I might make it a little bit bigger. Now you'll notice right now too that it's black on black, which does not work. Okay, so what I'm going to do here though is I am going to go ahead and switch this out, make it white. Okay, and I'm going to get rid of the stroke. So that's what we have. That's the shape coming in there. Now, for a little extra finesse, I like the point on the bottom. So I don't want to have the this covering it up. So what I'm going to do is while it's selected, I'm going to grab my eraser tool. Okay, and I'm going to hold down my Shift key. If I hold down my Shift key, it'll make a straight line. I don't have to worry about it getting wobbly and stuff. So I'll hold on my Shift key, make the eraser mark, and there we go. Now notice it only erased from the thing that was selected. Now what I can do is I can take my direct select tool, grab this, hit delete, and there it goes. All right, so there we go. So there is our mark. Okay, that's going to be our basic mark, or at least the one for the one that I'm creating here. Before I go any further, what I'm going to do is I am going to group these. Okay, so object, group. All right, now if I click on one part, I've clicked on them all. I don't have to worry too much about. You know, stuff getting shifted around and getting messed up. All right, now as far as the rest of it, which would be the name of the thing, I downloaded a couple of fonts earlier. I need to kind of play with these and see what I think is going to work best. Now I'm going to go ahead and bring this back up. Okay, ham-fisted bar and grill. The ham-fisted bar and grill. Okay, so I'm thinking of hierarchy here. I want to have the small on top, ham-fisted bigger, and bar and grill probably smaller than that. That's probably how it would work best. You know, again, got to play around with it a little bit, see what's going to work. Okay, so let's go ahead and click on our type tool. There we go. Now you click once, and it gives you the usual lorem ipsum stuff. What I'm going to do is I am going to, before I do anything else, I'm going to click on Align Center for this because I want to have my text aligned center. And then what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start looking at some of the fonts that I loaded. Now you'll notice when you scroll over these things, it'll change your little lorem ipsum thing. So let's see what we got here. Got a lot of Wicked Mouse. I don't know about that. York White Letter. Let's take a look at that. Let's see what that looks like. Not sure if I like that or not. Nah, not really. Okay. Again, you know, you just got to play around these things, see if they are going to work or not. I'm just ripping through the undos here just to get back where I was. All right, beauty school dropout. Let's see what. Let's see. Let's try that again. It's like it didn't, when I clicked on beauty school dropout, it didn't seem to work. I think that might be a little too light. You got to kind of balance. This has a lot of black in it, and this has a little too much light. So I think I need something really heavy, really kind of bold. So I think what I'm going to do is maybe go with something like this one. Yeah, let's try that. Kind of retro feel. Ham-fisted. All right, not bad. The only thing is, though, some fonts don't have special characters. I put a dash sign in there, it didn't show up, so what I have to do with something like that is just use something very normal. There, we'll use Annapolis, because that's fairly bold. There. Okay. That's not too bad. All right. Now, what I'm going to have to do, though, is I'm going to have to kind of play around with this a little bit. So, let's see. Let's go ahead. Let's click on this, and we'll click on bar, and yep. And again, there's no and sign. Grill. So let's grab the and sign. We'll use something else that is bold, but has the special character. So let's see. That's a little weird. That ain't gonna work. Arial black. Arial black probably work. Take out that extra thing there. And I think I want those a little bit tighter. So I'm going to grab my character palette here, where I got all my letter stuff, and I am going to go ahead and let's see. I'm going to grab this part here, and let's go ahead and tighten this up a little bit. There. That's not too bad. Okay. Let me just double check one thing, though. What do we have here as far as width and stuff? Yeah, okay. So that got a little squeeze there. Let's go ahead and take this out to 100%. that's what it's supposed to be like at 100%. That might be a little bit too much. 90 is pretty good though. Again, this is just a personal preference. Think that works okay. Not sold on the placement, but I think it's coming along. Now, the only thing that I'm leaving out here is the word the. Also looking at if I went over top of this and added a white stroke, would that look okay? Let's see. No. All right, never mind that idea. Let's go ahead and get that stroke off of there. I thought maybe that, adding that thing would work, but I think I like it just about like that. Okay, so now I just need to add the word the because that's part of the copy. Even if you don't like it, it's part of the copy. And I'm just going to add that separately. So I'm going to just type in the and select it, and then just go with my recent recent fonts. And this one, I don't have to worry about the size so much. I'm just going to kind of eyeball it until it looks about right. And just kind of align this along here. I'm aligning the crossbar of the T with the major stroke of the H. And I'm going to play with the placement just a little bit so it looks like it's spaced out right. And I'm not sold on this placement here. This might need to move a little bit this way so it looks more centered. Again, what you have to do sometimes is kind of play around with these things. If I take this, my mark, and then my type and do that, that's what it comes up with. And I'm not sure that I'm sold on that. Okay. Actually, what might work better in this case is doing something like this. Yeah, you know what? I think that's going to work better. And now I am going to put that stroke back on. So let's give that a stroke. And let's see. I think we had like a 3-point stroke on the rest of it. So we want to have something like that there as well. We'll just line it up something like that. And then put this right here. Actually, I should change the alignment to something like that. So we can have it all aligned right. Or excuse me, aligned left. I meant aligned correctly. But when you're talking about terms of right and left, sometimes that stuff gets confusing. Okay. All right. Cool. Like that. Okay, so what I would do with something like this, when it's done, grab the whole thing, and then let's group that. Oh, you know what? One last thing that I forgot. I'm going to bring down a guideline, and then I'm going to go over here. Whoops, that was a little too far in. There we are. Zoom in here and put in a TM, except we don't want a funky font with this. We just want something normal. Let's go with Arial Black and pretty small. Okay, now if you have not taken graphic design courses yet, like Art 135, you might not be aware of the trademark. Okay, basically, when you create a logo, you need to put a TM next to it because that means you are claiming trademark. Now I'm going to grab this, and then I'm going to, once again, group. Okay, now if I group the whole thing, and I have the whole thing grouped like this, if I select part of it and export, I'm all set. And that's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to go ahead and grab this, and let's see, let's export as, and this is all personal preference. I think it's easier sometimes to export artwork as TIFFs. TIFFs work pretty well, and you don't have to worry about fonts or anything like that. You know, we'll call this. Let's see, ham-fisted logo, TIFF, and oh, we got to put it in the right spot. I'll put that in a graphic design folder that I have, and just hit export. And let's see, CMYK, 600 PPI. Okay, that's all good. The default, I think, is usually like 300 or something like that. I tend to use 600 for logos. That's a personal preference right there. You know, you can also export as, since this is black and white, I export it as grayscale. It doesn't really make a whole lot of difference. If I wanted to open it up in Photoshop later and add color, I would have to convert it. But, you know, we'll just select grayscale, 600 PPI, and click OK. And then it's going to go ahead and export that. And this file right here, okay, we've already saved the thing as a TIFF, but we need to save the Adobe Illustrator file as well. So let's just go save as, and we will call this the same thing, ham-fisted logo, Adobe Illustrator, and click Save. And then just click OK. Okay, that's it. Okay, in the next video, I will show you how to set up the basic pages for your menu and start importing all of that text and the logos and all of that. In the meantime, what you might want to do, you might want to look around online for pictures of food that are on the menu, and start, you know, saving those. Just look for, you know, go to Unsplash or, you know, websites like that have free photographs that are not copywritten, free, you know, free to use photographs. Okay? All right, I will talk to you guys later. Have a good one.